After the political drama of the 2020 elections, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris have begun their work with a new administration in the United States. And part of their agenda is building back better the alliances with friends and partners, including Europe. But Europe and Germany are about to change in a big way politically. 2021 is a landmark election year in Germany. We call it actually a super election year. What makes this election year different and why does it matter for the United States? Find out after the intro. Guten Tag, I'm Knut Dethlefsen and I'm the representative of the Friedrich Ebert Foundation in the United States and Canada. I am from the northern coast of Germany, but I've spent years in North America working on transatlantic politics. And this is my logbook. Just as the 2020 elections in the United States were pivotal, 2021 marks the biggest political shift in Germany probably in 2 decades. Germany is a federal republic with 16 states and has a federal government that runs on a parliamentary system. That means that Germans don't elect their head of state directly. The elected parliamentarians do. Just like in the United States, the Constitution requires federal elections to be held every 4 years. Just sometimes, under specific political circumstances, early elections can be called. In September 2021, a new parliament, the so-called Bundestag, will be elected. And afterwards, a new government will be elected by the parliamentarians. After 16 years of being Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel will not be part of this election because she's not running again, which means she will also not be Chancellor again. On top of the Bundestag elections, this year there are also 6 state elections, and these state elections elect the state parliaments, which then elect the state governments. And because of all these elections, we call it the super election year in Germany. Politics in Germany are this year very volatile and there's a lot of political flux. And that makes it very difficult to predict the outcome of all the elections this year. There are different reasons for that. The obvious one is, of course, Angela Merkel won't be Chancellor. She was an anchor of stability in German politics. But more important, there's also no clear successor, and the different political parties are competing with each other for the majority or for a majority. And it's very unclear how much strength they can gain in a post-Merkel election. And on top of that, of course, Germany is also hit by the Corona pandemic, and the Corona pandemic crisis has hit all areas of German life. That makes campaigns very different. Campaigns as we have never seen before. Campaigns are more digital, less in person. How will that impact the elections? We don't know yet. But also the referendum will probably not be so much on Germany's future, but more a referendum on the handling of the pandemic by the German government. After 4 full legislative terms, Angela Merkel is stepping down as the Chancellor of Germany, an end of an era in Germany and in Europe. But she has already stepped down as the leader of her party, the conservative CDU. The CDU has elected a new leader, Armin Laschet, but they have not picked a candidate for Chancellor yet. So there is a certain uncertainty and disarray inside of the CDU. On top of that, in the last weeks, a corruption scandal emerged and several MPs seem to have received kickbacks in procurement of medical masks in fighting the Corona pandemic. And that has created a sense of crisis around the CDU. The German electoral system runs under the principle of proportional representation and doesn't allow the voters to directly elect the Chancellor. Instead, voters will be casting two ballots in the September election. One ballot is directly for the representative in the voters' district, and the second ballot is for a party. Half of the seats in the German Bundestag are allocated by direct mandates. The other half are allocated through the lists the parties create for the different federal states. Once the Bundestag, the parliament, is elected, the members of parliament elect the chancellor. By the way, every eligible voter receives an election notification a few weeks before the election, and then he or she can vote by absentee ballot, or he or she can go on election day, always a Sunday, to a polling station nearby and cast the vote. The pandemic has shown that many people choose the mail-in option because it is safer. And in the last two elections, last Sunday, the majority of votes was actually cast by mail. The relative stability of German politics seems to be a thing of the past as the party landscape becomes more complex and more competitive. The two big tent political parties, the Social Democrats, the SPD, and the Conservatives, the CDU, CSU, have to compete with now more powerful other parties across the political spectrum. That means that a coalition government is certain in Germany, and it might be even a coalition out of three parties. I personally think there are two most likely options. Either there will be a coalition between the Conservatives and the Greens, or there might be a so-called traffic light coalition, which is a coalition of the Reds, the Social Democrats, the Greens, and the Liberals, which have the color yellow in Germany. With Merkel's retirement, Germans will indirectly choose a new chancellor, a new head of government in Germany. But the chancellor is obviously also a high-profile office in European politics and plays a very important role in the European Union. With Merkel not running, there is no incumbent, and there is also no incumbent benefit for whoever runs. Three parties will run a candidate for chancellor: the Greens, the Conservatives, and the SPD. The Greens and the Conservatives have not decided who their candidate will be. The SPD has decided it will be Olaf Scholz, the current Vice Chancellor of Germany and Finance Minister. The SPD sees this election as an opportunity. The SPD has been the junior coalition partner in 3 of 4 Merkel governments and has not fared very well electorally during that time. And now it looks forward to improve the election results. In the last 16 years, the SPD has really fought for making the conservative government more social and has achieved major policy gains during that time, including establishing a minimum wage, marriage for all, basic child support, and better support for families in general. In two crises, the financial crisis and the COVID-19 crisis, the Social Democrats have fought in Germany to protect jobs. And who protected the jobs? It was Olaf Scholz as Labour Minister in the financial crisis, and now as Finance Minister he has done the same. In addition, Social Democrats govern many of Germany's big cities like Munich and Frankfurt and Dortmund. Social Democrats lead the governments in 7 of the 16 states. So they are in government on many, many levels. But obviously voters have a choice and the election will be very competitive. Maybe the election will be an opportunity for Social Democrats to present their strengths to voters who have come to appreciate more the role of the state in public life and the economy. We will find out. during the course of this year. Normally, elections are about aspirations and about the future, but this year it will be different. This election will be a referendum on handling the corona pandemic and the crisis around it. In the German society, there is, like in other countries, a corona fatigue. But also, on top of that, Germany is lagging behind in the race for vaccinations. And voters will be taking note of that. How that will play out, we will discuss in future logbooks that we will present to you every 2 weeks. So please, follow us, like us, give us feedback, what you like about the logbook and what you would like to see. In 2 weeks, we will come with a crash course on social democracy in Germany. Until then, I say tschüss from Washington.